Mr. Speaker, tēnā koutou katoa. Mr. Speaker, 216,000 children are living in poverty in this country. And to add to that shame, we have a Prime Minister who says the poor should not envy the wealthy. What should they do, Prime Minister? Be grateful that the wealthy may let them mow their lawn or clean the house for the minimum wage? Has the Prime Minister heard the expression, eat the rich? Because eating properly is certainly an issue for those 216,000 children. Mr. Speaker, tomorrow is another moment of truth for the government. We don't know all the details yet, but some directions have already been heralded, and they will not do a single thing for those children living in that kind of poverty. The tax cuts for the rich have been constantly justified by saying that much of the tax take comes from the rich. It is not rocket science to understand that paying lots of tax when a person earns a huge amount of money does not affect that person's standard of living in the same way as that affects people on a minimum wage. Some people who have lots of everything seem incapable of grasping the simple fact that there is a huge and growing gap in this country which rewarding the rich will not fix. The rich, and I include myself right now, Mr. Speaker, do not need a tax cut. John Key's government has already initiated or signalled some very big spending, including $10.7 billion on new motorways in the next 10 years, an estimated $500 million per year from cutting the top tax rate from 38 to 36 cents, and potentially hundreds of millions of dollars on taxpayer subsidies to protect businesses from the emission trading scheme. It is a question of priorities. A Green government would make reducing inequality in this country one of the highest and most urgent priorities. What we need is a safe and fair society where no one feels the need to build barbed wire fences between the haves and the have-nots. Hence the Green Party's Mind the Gap policy that we launched this week. This Green New Deal on inequality was launched because we have an analysis of the problems and we have some solutions. We do not just stand up in this House and blame each other. We believe that there are actions a government could take that would help to close the gap between the top 10% in this country and the 20,000 children currently needing to be fed food in school from one of the groups who came to our Mind the Gap launch, a group called Kids Can. We are not just wringing our hands about poverty. We are proposing some costed items that we could afford as a country if we stopped building ridiculous motorways to nowhere. Our package believes inequality could be reduced by a series of practical interventions. The total cost would be $4.46 billion, and it would save us in the long term from paying for more new prisons, more benefits and more hospital beds, to mention just a few of the benefits of a far more equal society. Specifically, we are proposing $10,000 tax-free on the first $10,000 of income, a capital gains tax on property but not the family home, an in-work tax credit being extended to families with dependent children on the benefit, and special benefit reinstatement, progressive electricity pricing to address fuel poverty, secure housing, meaning 6,000 new state houses, investment in community housing, and some changes to create some long-term rental tenure security. I will not outline the whole package, but I want to talk about one issue, which is the in-work tax credit being extended to all low-income families, including people on the benefit. This single act would help 145,000 of the poorest families meet their essential needs of their children. It was mean-spirited of Labor to exclude those families, and it is absurd of National to ignore and punish them through the Future Focus package. It would cost another $300 million per annum, which could be partially offset by the reduction on Ministry of Social Development supplementary assistance that would be required. And it would help the families who are in the greatest need. Maybe they're not popular talking about the children of beneficiaries. Maybe it's not sexy to talk about the people who are really poor. Let's just talk about in work. But we need to face up to who is really suffering and who is poor. And that extra $60 a week would make a huge difference to those people. I want to talk about one story in particular from my own experience as an advocate for the poor in Tairawhiti in Gisborne when I was working there from 2004 to 2008. And it's about fuel poverty, a term people in this House may not be familiar with because we are kept nice and warm here. But fuel poverty is a reality for many people.
David Bennett.